Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be replacing this passenger side headlight on my 2019 GMC Canyon. So recently my wife had a little fender bender with this truck and had to have some body work done on the bumper and the side panel here, and I hastily replaced this light with a eBay replacement grade light, and it is not up to par. The entire reflector housing inside of there is loose, and the aiming adjuster does not work anymore. We're going to replace it with an OEM unit, which I have over there in that box, which I should have done in the first place. But in order to replace the headlight for these trucks, you have to remove the entire grille and front bumper assembly. It's not real difficult, it's just kind of time consuming, so we're going to dig in here.
The first step in this process is removing the plastic shroud on top of the radiator. It's just held in with push pin clips, so if you have a trim removal tool, you can use that to start removing the pins, or you can use a small flathead screwdriver to pry up the center of the pin and then pry up the rest of the pin.
Once that top piece is removed, you can start removing these TORX screws along the top of the grille. They are probably T15s, but I'll verify in a minute.
They are T15 TORX screws. There's actually 6 of them along the top. There's 4 going into the radiator support, and then there's 1 going into each headlight on either side. So make sure you get all 6.
Next step in this process is coming in onto the wheel wells and removing these screws on the wheel well liner. There are 6 screws on the wheel well liner. They are T15 screws as well. You just need to remove them. Don't forget there's these 3 along the bottom here. Once you have the wheel well liners out of the way, you can come up on the side here and remove these 3 7mm bolts. This is connecting the panel here to the front bumper, and you need to remove that on both sides. Once you get those 3 7mm bolts on the back side here, you can loosely lower this out of the way and just kind of get it free from the top panel here. Also, while you're here, go in through your wheel well again and disconnect your fog light if you have them. There's also one 7mm bolt on that vertical pillar back there that connects to this waffle piece, as it's called. Mine appears to be broken, so I need to remove it on the other side, but don't forget you need to remove that as well, because it's going to hold the front bumper in place. So once you've got the bolts out of the side here, this is my helper for the day. His name's Bowie. Once you've got the bolts out of the side here, out of the waffle on the wheel well liner, out of here, out of the top, there are 2 bolts on the underside of the grill that we're going to get. They're 10mm. And then lastly, there are 2 10mm. I believe they're in here. I'll find them and show them to you exactly, but then those are the last of the 2 bolts. I'm going to get the ones underneath. There's one here, and there's one here. 10mm. And then the next 2 10mm bolts are through the opening on the grill, up in these 2 little circles. It's hard, my camera's not focusing. There's one there, and then the other one right up through there. Another 10mm. You're gonna need a long extension to get to these 2. So once you remove all those bolts, the grill is literally held on with just clips. Just held on with clips, and it comes off relatively easily, and you can just set the whole assembly aside. There's those 2 spots here that are clips that are holding it in place when you remove all the bolts. And you can grab it and pull it right off all as one big chunk. And then you can get access to the headlights much easier. Once the grill's removed, you can get to access to the headlight. There's 4 T15 screws, 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. Just remove those, and then you can get the headlight out and disconnect the wiring. Alright, so this is the old replacement grade headlight that I bought, that I just took out. I've got the new OEM one installed over there, but I'll show you what was wrong with this one and the reason why I replaced it. The reflector housing is loose inside of the housing, and this adjustment screw does not work. And so I looked inside, it looks like it's not even connected. Like a bolt fell out because this headlight was like pointing down at the ground when the lights were on. You can see the movement on that reflector housing. Don't buy replacement housings, buy OEM. They're more expensive, but it's worth it and it saves you a hassle. All right, so like I said, I got the new OEM headlight installed. There's the two T15s on top. There's a T15 here on the side, and there's a T15 down here. Now, I've got this hooked up. I tested my light bulbs, everything's working good. Projected them onto the wall here to make sure that they lined up, and they do perfectly, so I'm happy with that. So now there's just reinstalling the grill and bumper assembly back onto the truck. And you can do it by yourself. It helps to have a friend. So you're gonna line up these two prongs. So there's a clip there and then a prong. It's like a stud. And then this one here. And you're gonna line it up on these two spots here. So the clip goes in the top and the prong goes into the bottom. Same thing on this side. So you're going to line those up, push them in, and then you can start putting in some of the bolts on top to hold it in place. Then bolt up your side pieces here with the 3/7mm. Put all of your screws back in the fender liner. Then there's all those 10mm bolts. There's two that go in through the grill, and then there's two on the bottom. So that's what I'm going to work on now. Alright, so the next steps are bolting up this seam here, also reinstalling all of your screws in the fender liner. Don't forget to re-plug in your fog lights if you have them as well. So after you install the bolts and screws on your fender liners, both sides, you can come up top and reinstall this plastic shroud piece that just gets held in with push pins all across the top, and then you are done. So that is how you remove the grill and take out a headlight on GMC Canyon. This will work probably for 2015s all the way to 2020s. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Love it if you subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos. Later.